We're going to have our last two speakers, both Elizabeth Trudell and Deborah Hunt, comment on the final slides here. Elizabeth joined Dialog in 1983, and she's been a longtime member of the executive team. She served as VP of Global Marketing as well as VP of Product Management at Dialog. She's had extensive experience in marketing, product management, and strategic planning in the information industry, and she led the development and launch of the first web interface for Dialog. Deborah Hunt has pursued parallel library careers in digital asset management and knowledge management and beyond. She first used Dialog in 1984 to research scholarly works while assisting doctoral students in their area of specialty. This made Hunt very quickly appreciate Dialog's power, and she went on to found the first online users group in Nevada. So we'll have it Deborah and Elizabeth.
So I'm going to walk you quickly through what happened after the Knight Ridder acquisition. This period from 1988 through 97 was a pretty heady time for Dialog. We had a new owner who was very interested in seeing us develop and grow. We had the opportunity for investment, for global expansion, and a lot of experimentation. And as technology changed, we had the opportunity to try to change along with and take advantage of those changing technologies. We did have multiple acquisitions, and any of you who've been through an acquisition environment know that just managing the change management that comes along with bringing companies together takes a tremendous amount of management time. We had quite a lot of that. We were introducing new lines of business such as document delivery. CD-ROM actually had been introduced before the acquisition, but it was a growth business at that time. But more than anything else, we were constantly trying to figure out, with this very rich and sophisticated system that we offered, how could we make it possible for a broader customer community to enjoy the benefits of search? We knew that customer community who wanted to search for themselves was out there, but it was a real challenge, and we spent many person hours and market research activities and interactions with customers trying to figure out how to make a powerful system such as Dialog easy enough for a much broader community to use. We launched products called Business-Based, Science-Based, Pro-Based. Science-Based, by the way, was actually the first web interface. That was a factual error in my bio. But we brought, the thing that I think what happened was that we were very focused on trying to use the PC interface, the idea that we could build an intermediary software environment between the mainframe and the user that would enable an easy-to-use system. We got so focused on that we were very far behind on the evolution of the web as it started to globally take over. And I would say the other thing that happened to us in this era was we were part of a newspaper company. And any of you who are involved with newspapers know that they are driven by their advertising model. Yeah, they have subscribers, of course, but they make their money on advertising. And there was discussion back and forth between Knight Ridder and Dialog about was that a proper model to take? We couldn't grasp hold of it. And on the other side, Knight Ridder struggled to really understand how to digitize their business. So here we were. We had the opportunity to bring these two business models together and these different types of technologies together, and it was a very difficult road. And in the end, in 1997, Knight Ridder decided to spin us off, because they had kind of decided they weren't going to make it digitally, which is kind of an astounding decision to make in the late 90s. So we were sold to the Dialog Corporation. The Dialog Corporation was actually founded, came together because a much smaller organization called MAID, which is a London-based services company, they were about, they were not even 20% the size of Dialog in terms of revenue. But they decided to bid for us because they believed in that time, because of the value of internet companies, that they would be able to do to build up the company and sell it for a big ramp up. So they took on huge debt in order to do this, and they brought their own product, a very good online service called Profound, into the mix. So we were sort of a three-product organization. And I would remind everyone that supporting three different product lines with three different technologies and three different customer communities and different service requirements is a struggle for an organization. During this time, we did launch Dialog Classic Web, which persisted as our successful web product. But it was a struggle with it to continue to develop when we were having a heavy debt burden from that acquisition. So it only lasted 3 years, and we were, I would say, saved by another great acquisition, the Thomson Corporation. Some of you may be aware of Thomson. They're now Thomson Reuters. They're one of the big players in the information and news business. And they owned us for about 8 years. Within Thomson, however, there were some issues. There were many competing products at Thomson. So between the walls, we were dealing with legal special, patent specialty, science specialty, and other kinds of niche competitors, very strong in their own markets, who competed directly with Dialog. We couldn't kind of find a fit. So eventually, the business side of Dialog was sold and moved into Thomson Business Intelligence, and eventually sold from there. Dialog and Datastar were moved into Thomson Scientific. So we had a reconsolidation around the scientific and technology components of our database environment. And in 2008, our current parent, or I should say our anymore, I have been with the company for 4 years. After 30 years, it's hard to not say our. Dialog was purchased from Thomson by ProQuest. ProQuest is primarily an academic information provider, but very strongly aligned with Dialog, particularly from a cultural perspective and from a perspective of focus on the customer. They focused in like a laser on bringing Dialog and Datastar together on a single platform, and managed to complete something that no one else had done in the last 20 years of trying, which was to move Dialog off the mainframe, combining with Datastar on a single new modern environment, where the product that exists now can move forward in the world. It does a very fine job of offering a robust solution for scientific and patent and engineering customers. So Dialog goes on. And it's for those of us who love this company, it's great to know that it has a future. Now, I want to talk a little bit now about how we survived all that change, because there were some difficult years in there. And I would say that the constant throughout has been our relationship with the customer community. There was a meeting when ProQuest was acquiring us where the management team said, well, what is Dialog's most enduring strength? And I said it was customer intimacy. Many of us who worked at Dialog, I think Bob already mentioned this, were from the information professional community. It was very important to us to establish deep relationships with customers. Some of my best friends are Dialog customers. And that close tie to the corporate and government librarians, some of whom are in the room here, was what allowed us to continue on. And it's really a symbiotic relationship that, because not only did Dialog succeed because of the customer community, but many customers experienced their whole a kind of professional growth and development they might never have had if it weren't been for the opportunity provided to them to do something very special in their career by being the expert in a very complex, sophisticated system, so that they could do what was needed for their company, so they could be successful and make their organization successful. One time in a focus group, we were trying to get a sense of, well, what's it like to search Dialog? How do you feel about it? And one customer said, when I am in front of Dialog, I feel like I'm driving a 747. And that was, to me, the metaphor for empowerment. Dialog really empowered the information professional community.